On September 11, 2001, two hijacked airliners, American Airlines Flight 11 and United Airlines Flight 175, crashed into the World Trade Center in New York City. More than 3,000 people lost their lives, and another 6,000 civilian and emergency personnel were wounded in what would be known as one of the worst terrorist attacks on American soil in U.S. history.
At the time, I was working at Merrill Lynch, so I was at the World Financial Center 2, which is one of the buildings that's next to the two World Trade Centers. I wasn't in the World Trade Center directly, but they were in the same complex. And the morning I went to work as usual. I actually got there early. Typically, I get to work around 8:45, so I was in the office. And all of a sudden, I heard this guy in the office, who normally is kind of the jokester in the office. You know, he goes around making jokes. And he said, "Oh, a plane just hit the World Trade Center." And I thought he was joking, so I ignored him. I continued doing my things. And then next thing I hear, a few cubicles away, there was a lady who I don't know, because it was my first job out of college, and I haven't really get to know everyone yet. And she sounded really frantic on the phone. So I started paying attention, but couldn't really hear her well. The next thing, my supervisor came in, and she was shaking. And she just dragged me and said, "Jamie, there's been an incident. A plane hit the Trade Center. You have to leave. You gotta come with me now." So we started leaving the building, and we couldn't take the elevators anymore because by that time, they didn't know whether it was safe. So everyone took the stairs. And we were only on the 12th floor, but it was so many people, and most people didn't know what was going on. We started making down the stairs. It actually took us 45 minutes to just get down 12 floors because everyone was just chatting in the stairways. Some people say it was a small private plane that hit the building, and some people said, "Oh, a second plane has hit," when we went down a couple flights. But they said it was a helicopter from one of the news media that was trying to film the first plane hitting the building, and then somehow it dropped in. And for me, at that moment, I thought it didn't make sense because it must have been something bigger. People just don't know what was going on. And then when we got down to the ground level finally and exited the building, I looked back, and there was this huge fireball on the World Trade Center. But my supervisor kept dragging me away. She's like, "Jamie, let's go. Don't look back because you don't want to see something that traumatizes you." Because for her, she actually was coming in our building. The financial center was connected by a winter garden. It was a really nice atrium where the ceiling is all glass. So when she went in, she actually saw people jump off the building and landed on the top of the glass ceiling. So that's why she was shaking the whole time. But she still came up because she knew I would be in work early, and she wanted to make sure that I could leave safely. And then after we got down, the area was flooded with people because there's a lot of office building there. And then everyone just slowly made their way through to the West Side Highway and started walking away. And I was walking away with my supervisor towards Chinatown. And by the time all the subways weren't working, my cell phone wasn't working. I tried to call my parents to let them know that I'm okay, but the phone couldn't get through. The only phone call that got through was when it first happened. My friend from college actually was able to reach me from Boston because they saw on the news. But I told them that I was okay, and that was the only person that I was able to speak to on my cell phone. All the calls wouldn't go out. Payphones have at least 20 or 30 people lining up waiting to call because I guess they all want to call their home or loved ones to let them know that they're okay. So we just keep walking, and by the time we got to Canal Street, we hear this loud noise, like gas, from a lot of people, and that was when the first building just collapsed. So you literally see people on the street started crying and seeing what happened. You know, it was a very crazy day, I would say. And then we finally make it to Chinatown. A good friend of my dad has a hardware store there. So we went in and waited, took a break because none of the public transportation was open. And his store had a landline. So by then, I think it was around 10 o'clock when we made it there because there was just so many people on the street. And by that time, I was finally able to call and let my parents know that I was okay. And then we waited. We had lunch in Chinatown, and we waited until the public transportation reopened. The subway, I think we opened around 4 o'clock. So by then I was able to take the subway home. But there were also people that I heard would just walk through the bridge to get home, to get out of Manhattan. That was my day. And then when I got home, then I saw all the news. I saw more of what happened. And that night, while watching the news by myself, I started breaking down crying because I think during the day I was still very much just in a daze, kind of. It was finally when I saw the news and saw how devastating everything was, and at that moment, I just couldn't control myself and just broke down crying. I remember. That was it.
At 8:46 a.m., the first plane crashes into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. At 9:03 a.m., a second plane crashes into the South Tower. Only around 40 minutes later, The South Tower collapses, followed shortly after by the North Tower, killing thousands of people still trapped inside the World Trade Center and in the buildings and streets in the surrounding areas.
Initially, I didn't believe what was happening, and then people around me, depending on, everyone was also it was kind of unbelievable. People didn't believe that a plane could hit the building. A lot of people that didn't see it. Most people wouldn't even think of such an idea. And initially, I think a lot of people even were exiting a building. It was more of just getting away from work. Most people didn't feel that it was an immediate safety issue that we needed to leave quickly and leave right away. Because while we were exiting, it was still a lot of joking. People were chatting. Like I said, it took a long time for us to just get down 12 flights of stairs. It took 45 minutes, almost an hour. So everyone just wasn't. I think most people didn't believe what was happening, and didn't realize the sheer devastation that it was. I think it made everyone more aware. It changed people's perception of what terrorism is. I think before 9/11, a lot of people, when they think of terrorism, at least our generation, it's more about bombs, or we hear about suicide bombing or gun violence. Never did anyone in their wildest dream think that you could just hijack a plane and hit a building and cause so much casualties. And then I think there are also people that are in our generation during that time. I actually know someone that, because he lost so many friends in the building, he enlisted and joined the FBI because he said he wanted to do something for his country. So it definitely, I think, brought some patriotism and also brought awareness to our generation, especially when it comes to terrorism.
After 9/11, America immediately launched its campaign, the War on Terror, under the leadership of President Bush, causing the Afghanistan War and Iraq War, among other events. We now see terrorism as a top responsibility of presidents and our political leaders in a way we didn't see before 9/11, says David Beileman, a national security professor at Georgetown University and senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. These attacks have caused countries all over the world to tighten their security measures and increase spending on defense, so much so that an attack like 9/11 would be nearly impossible to pull off today.
I think the attack, even though it was so tragic, I think it made the United States people actually brought people together, because immediately after the attack, I remember Bush came right in to the area and said that we would not forget the people that were hurt. Well, I think it brought people together, and for the world, it also it showed the world that the American people are resilient. So even though in the face of tragedy, people still came together. And then in the aftermath, it didn't change the way how people still live. So New Yorkers still live the way they are, even after that.
The attacks on September 11th, 2001 sparked a whirlwind of changes being made to the very structure of our society. The values and beliefs of an entire generation was shaped. Governments across the world made massive efforts in fixing and improving their security systems, and the world looked at terrorism in a new light, causing a series of events that have a lasting impact on today, 18 years later. The attack had opened the eyes of the world to the importance of security and awareness, as well as the dangers terrorism poses on the world. And though the Twin Towers are gone, the memory still remains strong in American minds, and every person who felt its aftermath all over the world. The 9/11 attacks have not only shaped a generation, it has dictated world history.